Do you cry? Have you ever cried in a movie?
I've been told that's when you sweat from your eyes, right?
Oh, so cold. So cold.
Yeah.
Hard as a rock.
I can't remember the first time I cried in a theater. I can remember one of the times I cried watching a movie, period.
Which
and that would be watching Grave of the Fireflies. Actually, in Downey. Yeah, Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I rented it from Blockbuster, the fucking 5-day rental. And yeah, got me super emotional. It's an anime.
It's an anime movie right after the World War II. About these two kids who lost their parents, and man, you're right. That movie was the most depressing anime movie I've ever watched.
Yeah, I think I would say if you haven't seen it yet, Sung, watch it. You will at the very least get emotional.
Yeah, it's a really.
Hey man, I cry. I like to cry in movies. I like movies that make me cry because then my attention span with films, lately it's so hard. But if a film is like pulling at that level of emotion, I love those kind of films. Lately, have you guys seen Train to Busan? Have you seen that film?
Yeah.
Train to Busan.
Oh yeah,
dude. There was a scene in that film with the older ladies and the two sisters.
Yes.
Oh yeah, yes.
That film made me cry probably like 3 times, man.
That's a great film. Film.
I love those films. What about you, Anderson?
I mean, as a young adult, and it was more of the sense of this is the first film that I was I was excited about because it was an Asian American film. Was the Jolla Club actually? As watching it right as a senior in high school, not knowing anything about it, and then we're going to see it with a bunch of friends, and we all cried. I was crying at the end of the movie, crying at so many things. And it was just I never read the book. I didn't know anything about it, and I was like, oh my god, just to see kind of this Hollywood movie with Asian stories and Asian characters and Asian actors. It was just really profound in a way, and I think it's I find the film it's still, I still holds up. It's very sappy and melodramatic and stuff like that, but. It just got me. I think this is more of the fact that because I haven't seen, my exposure to Asian representation growing up in the media was either Dustin Nguyen and 21 Jump Street or, Kung Fu Theater, and that was basically it, or Bruce Lee. So to see, that and that's, that film, and it just, I don't know, just I cried big time. I cried big time in the theater. I think that vividly, I remember that as my first time actually sobbing in a theater. So
if I was sitting by you, I would have laughed at you. I'm just joking.
Yeah, sure. No, you would have told them to shut up.
Hey,
you'd have the hammer too. You'd have the hammer too.
What about you, Cory? You remember the film that you saw?
Okay, I think it was a Blockbuster rental again because I was watching it at home. There's a movie starring Denzel Washington and Matthew Broderick called Glory.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's about the Civil War, and it's about this black regiment of soldiers fighting for the Union. And so, yeah, I'd never cried in a movie before in my entire life, but at some point near the end, that this whole black regiment is going to charge this fort, and that they're basically sacrificing themselves.
Dude, I haven't seen it, Cory.
Oh my God.
So
and I was like, why?
Oh, it's a great film.
I didn't understand. I was like, I don't know. Maybe it was the music, or maybe it was, I don't know what it was. But that movie is directed by Edward Zwick, David.
Yeah.
Last Samurai, baby.
And I think that was Denzel Washington's first Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor.
I think he won.
He won.
Oh, he won. Oh, he won. Yeah.
He won. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Cory, fun fact, Glory is in 4K Blu-ray now, so if you ever want to revisit it.
I love it.
I have to buy a 4K
That's a solid
TV.
film.
My first crying experience that I remember was actually it's related to my like first time I was ever starstruck too. So you know, that's another question for later. But I used to be. I think I have no shame in admitting this, but my favorite actor of all time to this day is Gary Coleman.
Oh,
and
wow.
Yeah, and it's not because you know not because you know in terms of craft he's the greatest actor. You know, he's not Brando. You know, he's not Daniel Day-Lewis. But for me, I grew up with him, man. Different Strokes and all the movies he made. I don't know if you guys are aware, but he made hella movies, man. He made all those TV movies, right? And like
he was in a video game.
Was he?
Yeah, I think it was called Postal 2. But yeah, he was in it.
Well, when
Do
he was
remember
older.
that one, David?
When he was older.
I know Postal and Postal 2, but I don't remember him being in it.
I'll look it up. But
wait, so what is this, a violent game? It's like making fun of him?
It's a violent game.
Yeah, man. See, that towards the end of his life, dude, it sucks because like that's when you see, you know, he's a product of the worst of Hollywood. Like, like, you know, he was beloved as a kid, and people made millions off of him. And as an adult, when he was working as a security guard at Beverly Center, is around when I actually met him, man. And I was like starstruck. I was working at this restaurant, and he came in, and he wasn't eating there. I think he was off work or something like that. And there was a fireplace there, and he was warming his hands, and I was like freaking out. I was like, "Yo, that's Gary Coleman." And people were like, "So?" And I finally had the courage to walk up to him, and I was like stuttering. I was like, Mr. Coleman, I just wanted to say that, you know, I'm a big fan, and I grew up with you, and I feel like you taught me a lot of lessons as a kid." And he was kind of, you know, he was a little cold. You know, he kind of looked up. It was like, yeah, I guess that's what that stuff is for. And then it kind of broke my heart, man. But I remember watching his movies. Like, there's a movie that about him living in the train station. And
On the right track.
On the right track.
He was living in the locker. A locker, right?
Yeah.
And his dad.
That's sad.
The actor that played his dad, it's not Ben Vereen. It's Robert Goulart. No,
Robert Goulart?
Yeah. Goulart. He plays
What?
his dad in like almost every movie, every Gary Coleman movie for some weird reason. But there's a scene where, you know, the dad dies or something like that. He dies, and Gary Coleman's all by himself. Oh, those movies.
Yeah.
Those are so sad. It's
Those
so
are sad.
sad.
Yeah. And you know what? I think Gary Coleman, like, he really knew how to tug everyone's heartstrings, because, you know, the way he emotes, like, you feel like he emote the same way that he does. So I feel like I was like, and like, even this is another one where he was like a foster kid to this white lady. And I thought, like, and this lady just hated him. I was like, oh my God, like, how can you hate a child like that? And the way he cried, I was like, I was with him, you know. I was with him throughout the whole film. He was so great beyond Different Strokes or Facts of Life, you know, back in the 80s. And I thought, like, you know, like, I resonate with him a lot, you know, back in, I mean, he was a huge star, you know, to me, to you too. And I'm not laughing at, you know, you saying Gary Coleman, because I really think he was a really, you know, a great role model character, that all the characters he plays was one of those characters I really, you know, love, you know, like reflecting on, like, almost like he was our age, I think, right?
He was. Sure. I mean, I lived vicariously through him. Remember in Different Strokes? I don't know if you guys watched that show, but remember when he meets Mr. T? And Mr. T was like the biggest thing, right, in the world at that time. And I felt like I was meeting Mr. T, you know, through Gary Coleman, right? Right.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And so he, you know, and they dealt with a lot of, like, you know, like young teenage issues and stuff like that, you know, in the show, right? And so I think Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway,
Son, do you think that Gary Coleman was just super bitter at the moment that you met him? Like, was he just?
Oh yeah, because he was a security guard. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he
wouldn't
was
you
like,
be? Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
well,
exactly.
I
mean, he was,
think.
I mean,
Also, his
just
parents,
classic,
man.
Yeah,
His
classic,
parents
like,
spent all his money.
yeah,
Right?
classic child star. You know, you're given basically all this fame and fortune when you're a kid, and that just screws up with your head, you know, and like you have that you don't have that you don't have the right mindset when you grow up, and like, you know, eventually, you know, you're going to be forgotten and like thrown away by the Hollywood system, and you know, and you lose jobs, and you lose you know, your luster of being. You grow up basically. You're no longer that cute little kid anymore, and I think that hurts him. And you know, that's why he ends up making Postal 2 and like becoming a security guard. You know, it's rough. That's a total mind fuck. You know, so
Yeah. I mean, imagine you're the star of these movies, and then all of a sudden, at the end of your life, you're doing bail bond infomercials.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he was doing. It was like bail. It was like I would see him on infomercials like 3 a.m. for some bail bond thing in LA. You know, it's like you probably got paid like $500 or $1,000 to do that.
I remember he also like ran for governor, right? Remember the recall when the, you know, Gray Davis.
Oh, wow. Gray Davis. I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, I think he ran for governor as well. So
that's crazy.
And he, you know, like it's like, yeah. So he definitely had like a pretty tragic life, you know. So
every kid that was on Different Strokes had a terrible fate. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
I think the only one who's still alive is Todd Bridges.
Yeah, Todd Bridges. Well, he became a devoted Christian. And he went on like the Arsenio Hall show, and he pretty much proclaimed how much his life has changed. And I thought, oh, you know, at least, you know, someone's trying to be positive, you know, and because he was in a world of drugs and all that stuff too. So, you know, it helps to have a testament of your, you know, your durability after the fact that you were once a star and, you know, now you are not sought after. So, you know,
that show, that the cast of Different Strokes was so tragic. I think the only one that didn't have all of this drama and baggage attached was the housekeeper. Remember?
Yeah.
They had a housekeeper at like the first 2 years or something like that in the show. But everybody, even the father, Mr. Drummond, you know, he came out of the closet, and that was a big, like, you know, during that time, I'm sure it wasn't easy, you know what I mean? And then the sister, I think, did she OD or something like that? I think she might have passed away.
I think she died like in like the late 90s. Dana Plato, right? Was her name. So
I just looked her up independent of this. I did not realize she was dead.
She died,
99.
It's so sad, man. It's so sad, dude. It's so sad.
Do you guys? I remember watching Different Strokes, and they would periodically have those episodes that weren't funny. You remember that, where it was like
there was a classic, you know, the child molester episode.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
I know where we're going.
It got super dark, and
how
then
many
they would
people
have
can
like a
say
PSA
that?
at the end.
Classic child
Back in the
molester
80s,
episode.
that's what it was.
No, it was
like
a very special episode of Different Strokes, right? So like either that or like Nancy Reagan shows up to do the whole, you know, say no to drugs campaign thing, and like, you know, like it's like there's always those special episodes, you know, like it's like
Oh yeah. Let's go back to being starstruck. So Dave, I want to know who you were starstruck by for the first time.
Oh, well, coming from Hawaii, we don't get a lot of movie stars coming over, but when one
doesn't have to be a movie star.
This guy,
doesn't have to be a movie star. The star.
Ernest Reyes Jr.
Oh yeah.
Ernie Reyes Jr. Sorry. Ernie Reyes Jr. was in The Last Dragon. He was a stuntman for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Sidekicks, and also The Rundown with The Rock.
He had a TV show too, didn't he? With
Gil Gerard,
Don Johnson. What was it called?
Nash Bridges?
No. He had a TV show in the 80s where he
had Sidekicks was one.
Sidekicks.
Yeah,
the
Sidekicks
spin-off
was one
of The Last Electric Dragon, right?
Yeah, from the Disney show Last Electric Dragon.
Dude, Dave, it's so funny you bring up Ernie. It's because this film that I did here, Heroics. This one is the Robert Rodriguez Netflix film I just did.
Oh,
right?
No way.
And so this is my character name,
Oh
Blindly
wow! Look at
Fast.
that.
But Ernie's daughter is in the movie.
Oh really? Yeah.
So his daughter's like
that's
an
great.
actress now. Yeah. So he was a a set dad. So he would just hang out, watch his daughter. We're in Texas and Austin, where Robert's studio is, and then he was on set every day. We're just hanging out. I was
That's
like
crazy.
I was like, I had to pinch myself. I was acting cool, but I was like, hey, how you doing? I was like looking at him, go, man, but the inner dialogue is, man, I used to watch you. I used to want to be you. Dang, I can't believe I'm sitting here with you. Right?
Yeah. He was also in Red Sonja. Remember?
He was in Red Sonja.
Oh, that's right.
With Brigitte Nielsen.
Yeah.
And, Arnold as Coleman.
Yeah.
I'm really interested in seeing how that reboot of Red Sonja is going to be with Phil Soloway.
Yeah.
It's going to be a totally different tone, I think.
It's going to be
Yeah.
better than Bryan Singer.
I thought they tried to reboot already. Red
Yeah,
Sonja.
but
Didn't
they-
Yeah, Red Sonja. I
They
mean,
finally got rid of
Singer
Bryan
was
Singer,
directed, but
but now it's
Oh.
Phil Soloway,
that's going, yeah.
which
So.
will be interesting. Thank God.
What about you, Cory? You have a starstruck moment?
Okay, I was in New York City, Times Square, in the year 2000. I remember it was year 2000 because because the World Trade Center towers were still there.
Oh, damn.
And so I was in Times Square. I was trying to get a ticket for a Broadway show. And I was in a crowd of people. And then all of a sudden I hear all of these women screaming. And I was like, oh, there's a celebrity or something's going on. And so I get out my disposable camera that I had at the time. And I was ready to turn around and like see Justin Timberlake or something like that, because these women were going nuts. I turn around, like 10 feet, standing 10 feet away from me was Bill Clinton.
Wow.
Oh, the musician.
Wow.
Oh
No, not George Clinton. Not George. Bill fucking
Hey, Bill Clinton
Clinton
is also a
was
musician.
standing right there, and I
he
snapped
plays
a
a
photo
million
of him.
sax.
But these women were going wild for him. Like I've never ever heard like that type of frenzy for anyone in my entire life. And
Wow.
pain. I feel your pain.
my mind was blown after that. I was like, wow, Bill Clinton.
You were
Amazing.
starstruck of Bill Clinton, or were you starstruck that the people love Bill Clinton?
Yeah, no, I
The
was
women.
amazed that they were treating him like he was like some kind of crazy movie star or some kind of pop star or some kind of, it's like
Yeah.
I was surprised that, but women were just ready to just fall on their knees like at that moment for Bill.
He was already president, or was he running? Or
2000? No, George W. Bush was president in 2000.
okay,
Yeah,
so he was pre-presidency,
post.
pre-Monica
Presidency.
Lewinsky.
No, this is after.
Oh, yeah,
right?
post
Post.
Monica Lewinsky.
Post.
Yeah, this is post.
Oh, post
He was
Monica
done,
Lewinsky.
done with his second term.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
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 I wonder if that Monica Lewinsky thing made him more desirable towards women, because presidents are known to be sexy, right? They're not sex symbols, but like he was a musician. He playing the saxophone at our Arsenio Hall show, so he had all these cool elements. But I wonder if the tipping point was that scandal. It's like, I wonder, man. Like, like you look at today, right? Like, with Trump talking about punching women in the pussy and stuff. It doesn't like. There are women that get like upset about it, but then there are women that I think they're attracted to power. There's certain because that reaction, if it's post Lewinsky, it doesn't make sense.
I know,
right? Like what, right?
Yeah, I thought people would be, like calling him an asshole and like get out of here, you like jerk. But people were going nuts for him. That I've never seen that before. Like in my entire life. And so, but and then that's what blew my mind, because it's about power. It's really about power. Like that's the power of power, right there illustrated. And so I wasn't really starstruck. I was just kind of It was crazy. And so I got a
He
picture.
was struck.
I got a picture of Bill Clinton on my disposable camera, and he's standing there in a crowd of people just smiling. I wish I had that picture. I don't know where that picture went, actually. I got to find it.
You got to find it.
Yeah.
I think that's really fascinating, right? Like, even now, it's not like he's totally a pariah for what happened with Monica Lewinsky, but compared to how people react now to 2000, like, it's very different. Like, Me Too, you can really see the change of how people react. Because, I mean, Monica Lewinsky, she was the pariah, even though she was like the young one. And so it's like really interesting to see that change in like public perception from before to now, where it's like, I feel like if that scandal happened today, we wouldn't be pillorying Monica Lewinsky. We'd be doing it to Bill Clinton.
Do you think so, right, Saram? But look, with the current president, there's no accountability. He can do anything he wants. Like that whole porn star. Look, I mean, Monica Lewinsky was not a porn star, right? I mean, we've had a president that's been linked to actually a porn star, and there's nothing that's happened. So, like, the Me Too movement, I thought was going to make an impact. Like, there was going to be a check and balance from now on. But if the most powerful man in the world is the symbol for what is right and wrong and male behavior, and there's no accountability, so what is all this? Like, I feel like everything that led up to that is a bunch of talk now. Like, so if you're powerful, none of the rules apply?
No. You know, it's. I think it's like, yeah, the great things. It's just because, you know, he's got this. It's because half the country's divided, right? So it's like, so you're gonna have, no matter what. I think Trump is like a symbol of something more than that, unfortunately, because for him, he's occupying a seat for, certain parties to kind of just get their agenda in place. Anywhere from like turning over the Supreme Court to all conservative seats to and other things, like destroying like environmental policies, just like strengthening like unfettered capitalism. It's like you name it. So it's just like a lot of people can ignore kind of the indiscretions because it fits within their agenda. So, but I think it's like I think it's good to have these movements happening, because it's like, I think it's just definitely a paradigm shift where you have basically people who are want to have that kind of 1950s ideal America, white picket fences, just like white people in power, and as the country and the world gets more and more diverse and brown, so it's just like, so this is kind of their last kind of like hurrah to grab as much power as they can, because just that tidal wave of like diversity that's happening, and I think it's like they're just scared. It
just breaks my heart, because the quintessential idea of like conservatism, right? It's like, I go, it's purely like self-agenda. It's about money, man. It's about hoarding absolutely. Shit. It's not about like, where's the Christian values? Because I know, some of us here are Christians, and like, I go, if the Christian sect if my people from the Bible Belt can be okay with our current president doing whatever he wants, I don't know, man. I don't like. It makes me even question religion. I go, what is this? What's going on? Like, set aside politics. From the liberals to the conservatives. Aside from that, just on basic, do the right thing stuff, right? Like, going back to Ray Saram's, point about if Bill Clinton, the Lewinsky thing happened today, Bill would be crucified. I think if he had the attitude like Trump, like, I don't give a fuck, there's no accountability. I mean, as long as you fit 50% or a certain percentage of someone's like like monetary agenda, they'll forgive you for all these things. So I don't understand. Like, I don't know where we're going with this, because I'm all with you Anderson, like we have to have these movements, but I'm scared, man. It just comes down to fear of like, if the most powerful in the man in the world can get away with all of this, what is that teaching everybody else? Like, so the goal is to get so powerful that none of these rules don't apply, right? So I don't know, man. I don't get it. Like, if this movement was so strong, why can't they take him down? You know, or why can't? Yeah,
protect.
Yeah,
But
they could have taken, but they would have taken Bill Clinton down. They would have taken Obama down.
but they have. I feel like the world we live in now, with the the extent of the disinformation from Russia and other places, it's too complicated. There's too, like, as an example, like if I go on a subreddit for AOC, Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, like if you go to that subreddit now, instead of it being supporting her, it's more about shitting on Biden and saying Bernie no matter what. And it's very easy to be like, oh yeah, sure, that's the general sentiment. But also part of it is like Russian trolls like astroturfing this so that people who go on that subreddit will say, oh, look at all these people who support Bernie. They won't do anything. I hate them. So they're breaking down the unity in all these other groups. And I feel like those outliers, that's what's complicating it now compared to like Bill Clinton or even Obama to a lesser extent, is social media, all of that wasn't as prevalent then. And social media, as much good as it's given, there's so many cracks now that they can come in and pull.
Yeah. Because social media has provided that forum for, the marginalized people, for the disenfranchised to have a voice, but at the same time, it's provided a platform for, anywhere from Russian bots to fake news to you name it, to really kind of spark, sense of cancel culture, the sense of disinformation, so it's like it's tough. It's like pretty complicated, so
it's all confusing.
What about you, Racer Ram? Who are you? Did you have a starstruck moment?
I think that it would be when I attended a Q&A for Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. It was a Q&A and Park Chan-wook was there.
Nice.
And so that was like maybe 2003, 2004. It was at the Egyptian. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't like to break rules and go up there, but I was watching it with my dad, and when the Q&A started, we were like all the way to one side of the auditorium, and they were congregating towards the center front, and my dad was like, go ahead, keep going. And we basically started walking up to the front alongside Park Chan-wook's entourage. And I ended up sitting next to like his partner or wife as he was doing the Q&A. And my dad was like, go ask him for a picture. And so I have a picture of me with Park Chan-wook. That was probably like my starstruck thing, because I love his work and I loved it back then. And so, yeah.
It's funny that Erasm likes not like the movie stars. It's the director and the behind the scenes people that you're starstruck with.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
that's good.
I mean, like JSA, so good.
Oh, JSA.
Yeah. And like just the story of like how he makes Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance after JSA is so fascinating.
I like that type of like fanship, or like, that type of respect where you're respecting the person purely based on merit of their work, right? And I think that's the right type of fame, and that's the right type of celebrity. It's like you're not infatuated with his like hair or skin. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to, like you don't want a piece of his like hair. You don't want, you're not sitting there like thinking loony stuff. It's just like,
know.
Wow.
Racer M probably has a tuft of his hair like in his scrapbook.
Not for him.
Thanks, guys. You guys are awesome, and appreciate. So we'll talk to you all later, and you guys watch what they told you all to watch.
Stay safe out there.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.